me for my voice, but I have never seen anything like it.
Do you believe in miracles? Yes! Unbelievable.
Hey, welcome to the show. Andrew Zimmel, host as always. Today we're talking about part 1 and what we can expect from part 2 of the Bachelor finale. I know you're shocked. Not enough Bachelor content, honestly, this season for me. I take full credit for that. I 100% blame myself. We should have been breaking this down every week. We weren't. Whoopsie. What can we do? All right. Before we get into it, though, I do want to remind you that we do have content out all week. It's a daily podcast, so that means we have daily content. If you're missing out on any of it, you really are missing out on a lot. We've put out podcasts about Jim Thorpe. We did one on Monday about the AL West. If you're not a big sports fan, we do have Film Friday every Friday where we talk about a film. We do a film review. So there's something for everybody, I think. I really do have a good job. Alexander Haynes is going to come on later this week on Thursday to check out all of the big news of the week. Talk about the coronavirus, Super Tuesday, stock market, oil prices, the whole 9 yards. So he's going to come on Thursday to talk to us about that. So if you're missing out on any of it, you're missing out on a lot. Let's get into the season. So we talked about this a little bit. We've touched on it before. My whole deal with Pilot Pete, weird relationship I have with this guy. From the start, he was on Hannah B's season. He was on Hannah from Alabama's season. Wasn't in love with him then. We saw Hannah from Alabama come back. I hate it when the Bachelorette contestant or somebody from a past season of The Bachelor shows back up on the show. I really do. I'm one of those weird guys who likes it, the stories to end. I want book endings from beginning to end. If this show is going to be the type of show where you come on, you have quote-unquote love at first sight, then you get off the show, I don't want to see you back on here. Like, you had your shot. You had your chance to come and do this. I don't need to see it again. The other thing about Pilot Pete, I get it. He's a pilot. I get it. You know, he can't have great facial hair because he's a pilot, I guess. Look, if you're going to go with the facial hair, you're going to go with the beard, go all in or go all out. You can't go this halfway deal that he's doing. It doesn't make sense to me. He either needs to go clean-shaven or he needs to just really try to grow that beard out. Because right now, where he's at, it's just not working for me. Also, every single scene is in a hangar of some sort. I don't really need it. Don't really need it. I think we get it. So, we come down to the finale where we have Madison versus Hannah Ann. Now, week 1, off the tip, I could have told you that Madison was the best Bachelorette contestant. I thought that she was the best. I thought that there was no way that any sane person would look at her and be like, I think I'm going to pass. Look, I get it. It's The Bachelor. There's a fantasy suite. There's intimacy. You're talking to upwards of 10 different women. You have a fantasy suite where you could have 3 different people. Like, I get it. And Madison is an outlier because she's not deciding to sleep with anybody, and that's fine. And I respect that a lot more than I would respect anything else. But at the same time, that's the show, right? Like, the show is these different beats. And you can look at Pete's family. When Pete's family on this episode kind of heard Madison's whole deal, when they were kind of getting it, when they kind of were getting the feel of Madison again, because they've met earlier, but when they're kind of getting the feel of Madison again, they kind of, I don't want to say chastised her, but they weren't high on Madison's stock, I'll put it that way. And then we also learned this entire season that Pete's kind of a party guy. Pete's kind of a guy that likes to go out. The fantasy suite was something he was looking forward to the entire season. We get it. Like, it makes sense. But, again, at the same time, Madison, by far, best chemistry with Pete. By far, I think, is the person who makes the most sense with Pete. And I get it. You know, this idea that you need to, if you're Pete's family, you want somebody for Pete that's going to, match with him compatibility-wise, that can go out with him, can have fun with him, stuff like that. I don't know why we just continually forget the whole, hey, opposites attract. Does that not, ring a bell to anybody? Nobody else has heard that before? I think Pete's family needs to remember that. The Weber family, very interesting. His mom stole the show, I thought, tonight. Had a bunch of really good quotes. Did the whole crying deal. I was really into that. It sets it up really good for tonight, what we can expect from the finale. Now, why let's do the pros and cons for Hannah Ann. Because right now, with Madison leaving, I think that there's no way she doesn't come back. I think that she dumps him, and then she's going to end up coming back on the show at some point. Probably tonight, later in tonight's episode. I hypothesize, that's my first take, I guess, is that she will return, she will be back when the whole Chris Hansen, we just discovered some news. I think that is when Madison will come back. I think that this will make Pete's decision a little bit harder, but at the end, I still believe we're at the, 5.5 minute mark of this podcast. I'm already going to tell you this. I firmly believe that he's picking Hannah Ann. I think that Madison's the better choice. I think that we've seen this before on every Bachelor, Bachelorette season. We've seen the obvious number one pick end up sliding in the draft. I think that's what's going to happen here. I think Madison's going to slide down. Now, what really stinks to me is that I don't think that she's going to be the Bachelorette contestant either. I would much rather have Madison be the person to fill in the next Bachelorette season, but I don't think that she's going to be that person. And I'm disappointed in that, because I would love more Madison content. Look, she's got family. Her dad works at Auburn. She's a very sporty person, so the content really matches up with the things that I like to do on this show. So I would be more inclined to watch the season, more inclined to cover it, more inclined to talk about it if we had that kind of sporty background. I really wish that I had the podcast when Jordan Rogers was on The Bachelor, because I would love to break down how Jordan Rogers did versus what Aaron Rodgers did week by week. I'd love to do that, but alas, here we are. I think that this is an interesting season for Hannah Ann, or a situation for Hannah Ann, because I think that she has set herself up really good to be the person who Pete picks. I think that this entire season, she's always kind of been in the middle. When there was the three of them, Madison, the crazy woman, and Hannah Ann, I thought that Hannah Ann kind of fit perfectly in between the two. And she's never came off as really ditzy to me either. And that's always been a big thing. It feels like every Hannah on the show, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong. You can tweet at me at Andrew_Zimmel if you don't think that this is the right take. But every Hannah that they've ever had on the show, that since I've been watching, always seems kind of ditzy. Never completely seems all there. Always kind of feels like an airhead in some regard. And Hannah Ann doesn't really give me that vibe as much as other Hannahs have in the past. So Hannah Ann has really impressed me by just not being a complete idiot. I still think that she sets herself up best. I thought she had a really good date on Monday night with Pete, and then tonight I still stand by I think that this is going to be the time to pick him. I think that she's going to be the one that he picks. I think Madison's going to be too little too late. What does this do for the show? Why is this so controversial? I don't really know. They're really going to have to twist my arm for me to believe that this is the most controversial ending. And I know a lot of people have sent me the content, and a lot of people have told me about he's actually in love with a producer on the show. Well, he's actually in love, or he's actually gotten so-and-so pregnant. I like these takes. I like those conspiracies. I'm all here for them, but I'm just going to throw something out there. I don't know a lot of people who have worked in television. I know a lot of people have worked behind the scenes. Maybe The Bachelor is different. Maybe it's a completely different world. Maybe they just have producers that are just hanging out. But from my experience working with people who have worked in TV, or working with people who work behind the scenes on some of the reality TV shows, and people that know people who have worked behind the scenes in TV shows, this is me doing the humble flex deal. I don't know a ton of producers who have been able just to kick back and start a relationship with a contestant, or start a relationship with somebody on air. Not a whole lot of producers hanging out with the anchors at TV stations. We'll put it that way. I don't think there's a lot of love affairs going from the behind the scenes to the on-camera stuff. So that said, I don't know if it's a one-night stand type of thing with Pete and a producer or something like that, but I can promise you, I won't promise you, but I find it highly unlikely that he has a ongoing relationship with a producer. So that means that the controversial twist ending will be that Madison returns. And if you look at it that way, if you look at it, if Madison returns, I still think that the choice for Pete, it's kind of already been made for him, because I think his parents, who seem like really party people too, which again, kind of weird, I think that they have kind of already picked Hannah Ann. I'm always going to be Team Madison. I'm always going to feel bad for her that this show kind of like chastised her for not wanting to sleep with Pete at the end of the day. But look, it's her body, her choice, right? And this is her kind of the way that she wants to live her life. And I still think that this isn't the right show for her, if that's like the end game. I still think that maybe you pick a show like Love is Blind or something else where you don't end up sleeping with the person immediately. I don't know if she's never seen the show before or what, but like I know that Pete and I know that his mom, of course, when she said like, "Hey, you should go on the show," I think they've seen the seasons prior to this one. I think they've been around the show a little bit. I think they've watched the show before, and they kind of know how this is going to end. So that's kind of where I'm sitting right now on this this season. I think that this is one of the, I guess, better Bachelor seasons. I'm not like like I said, I'm not completely in love with it. It's reality TV. I think that there's always going to be things that you wish they did a little bit more of. I think there's always going to be things that, you look, if you cut this episode down, you take all the commercials out, you cut all the fluff out, you cut some of those dates down, the episode runtime is probably like 25 minutes of actual content out of a two-hour show. So that's always going to sit with me kind of weird. Last thing before we let you go, this again, I feel like this is a shorter podcast, but there's not a ton to talk about. Again, on a show that very fluff, a lot of fluff. The only thing that I really can see coming tonight in the finale is, like I mentioned, Madison coming back. I would like to see Hannah Ann put her foot down and say, "Hey, this isn't how I want this to go. I want things to change up a little bit. I want you to be more committed to me and not have like these second guesses about Madison." I would really love Pete to get left at the altar, kind of like how Hannah B left both of her guys at the altar almost. I'd love to have both of these women leave Pete at the altar and then potentially Madison come back at the end. I still think that Hannah Ann is going to be the pick, but I'd love to see her kind of have a little bit of solvency and say, "No, that you being wishy-washy on this, I'm out too." I'd like to see that. I don't think we'll see it, but that's something that I would really look forward to as well. All right, so tonight we got the finale, the Bachelor finale. We'll probably do a podcast on this tomorrow. You're probably going to see this on Wednesday. Do a little bit of a, hey, how did it all shake out? If not on a complete podcast, we'll mention it on whatever show that we do. So thank you guys again for listening. I know it's been a little up and down week so far for me. I've been sick. And that leads us on a very rare tangent of mine. So we did the whole Bachelor deal. Let me give my little rant about washing your hands. Look, I agree with you. The majority of you who continue to jump in my mentions and continue to tell me, "Hey, wash your hands and you'll be fine. The coronavirus won't affect you if you wash your hands." That might be true. You might be completely right. You might be 100% factual in that if I just wash my hands with soap and water, then boom, I'm never going to get sick. But let me tell you this. I am the number one person that I know that washes their hands. Never leave the bathroom while washing my hands. Putting Purell, putting Germex on my hands afterwards. That happens too. So explain to me how I got a stomach bug. You can't. These things just happen. People just get sick. So when you tell me constantly, well, the coronavirus isn't real, it's an election year myth, it doesn't really make sense, the media is just trying to drive things up. Look, if you haven't listened to the podcast that we've done with Alexander, and I plugged this a little bit earlier, if you haven't listened to the podcast we've done with Alexander, you don't really know what you're talking about. Because that guy does. He was in China. He knew when this coronavirus was spreading in China. He's followed it as it's come to America. This dude reads the CDC reports probably better than you guys do. So when you tell me, oh, the CDC's wrong, or oh, this isn't a real thing, or the World Health Organization, no, this isn't sure, it happens to be an election year. But it's not an election year everywhere. Not everybody's having huge elections this year. It's just America. America's got really big ones in November. But look, it's March, guys. This doesn't make a ton of sense, your conspiracy theory. The whole wash your hands thing, I get it. But, maybe let's say, wash your hands, but also, don't come in contact with a lot of people if you think you're sick. that's just my little rant right now. Doesn't make a ton of sense for you guys to continue to tell me the coronavirus isn't real. I'm telling you now that the stance of this podcast is that you need to like get checked out. If you think you have any of the symptoms, you need to go find a way to get checked out. Go to a doctor, go to a hospital, go to an ER, but get checked because it's real. It's spreading really quickly. They shut down South by in Austin. This is a big deal. And if you don't think it's a big deal, I don't think you really are paying much attention. That's going to do it for the show. I will talk to you guys tomorrow when we do a little bit more Bachelor content, of course. We'll have Sam on talking big board. So check all that out. I'll see you tomorrow.